All right, guys. So this is going to be a Cricut demo where we toggle back and forth between the Cricut itself and the Cricut Design Space software. So I've got the camera set up, so when we start putting things in and cutting, you guys will see that magic happening. I do want to real quick do a screen share and introduce you to Cricut Makerspace. So the Cricut Makerspace is where you guys will see, this is where you will set up your files to cut, all right? And you can cut and layer things, you can cut out negative space, there's all sorts of options and ways you can approach using this machine. Again, you can actually bring in, even if you do something in Illustrator, you can bring in the SVG, the PNG, there's a couple different file formats that Cricut supports, and I'll be sure that I'll list those as well and post those for you all. So here I've got a score line and I've got a star. Sorry guys, just totally blinked out for a second. And I've got a diamond. Cricut gives you all sorts of options. It has some pre-built shapes, but mostly what I like to use this machine for, and similar machines, I have a cutter at home. It's a different brand, but it's a very similar machine, and I like to use, I do a lot of lettering projects, and then I'll cut those out with adhesive vinyl and apply those to things, or do cutouts. You can even make super sophisticated custom boxes with this machine as well. If you're doing something super sophisticated, Cricut offers some free and some paid files that you can purchase from them. But for the most part, you guys will be designing things in Illustrator and then taking those into Cricut Design Space. And when you do that, you'll just go to upload and it'll walk you through the process of bringing your image in. One thing about the Cricut software is that it's super user friendly, and as long as you're punching the right buttons, it is going to tell you what to do. So I'm going to go over to make it, and at a certain point I will switch over to just the Cricut itself, but you can see the machine as well. We're going to do a score and then a cut. So it's going to go through and do the score first, and then secondly, it's going to do the cut. Okay, so I can take a look at the options on both of those, and I'm going to go to continue. It says no device found, so I have to make sure that I have my Cricut plugged into my computer, which I do. I don't have the Cricut turned on, so I'm going to push the power button, and you'll hear it kind of make some noises there, and it will connect through the USB. Okay. Cricut device maker, and then here's where it will talk to you. It's saying select the base material, and you can browse all materials. What we're going to be cutting today is I have this really fun shiny cardstock. So this is just cardstock, but we're going to print on that. And I'm going to go to browse all materials. And this actually is a Cricut material. Again, you don't have to use the Cricut specific material. You just have to know what settings to plug in. So this is the Cricut Sparkle paper. So I'm going to look up here in my search, and I'm going to look up for sparkle, and hopefully it pops up. Search there, sparkle paper, yes. So if you're using a Cricut licensed material, it will have the settings built in for you. But like I said, you can tweak the settings and print on anything. With that said, it might take a couple of tries. So make sure if you are using outside materials that you give yourself a little bit to figure out what the best settings are for that material. So here we've got sparkle paper. Pressure is set to default, which should work for what we need. It says load materials. So this one, it's telling me there's no tool in clamp A, and it wants me to put scoring wheel in clamp B. So gotcha there. And again, here is where we will load those blades. Actually, you guys, I'm going to jump back. I think I'm not going to do the score, so I don't feel like messing with that second blade. But I do want to do the cut for you guys. So I'm just going to delete that. It will let me. Okay. So I'm going to have to hop back. I'm going to cancel out of this. cancel cut, yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to cancel, so it will take me back to my design space. I'm going to delete that score. We're just going to do a simple cut, go back to make it. Again, it shows me when I'm cutting. I'm actually going to move these a little further away from the edge so that I make sure not to cut off of the edge there. I'm going to go to continue. And again, I'm going to go back to materials. Got to tell it my sparkle paper again. And this is like sparkly thick cardstock is what I'm using. Okay. All right, so it will tell me load fine point blade in clamp B. You take a look at, so this was A and this is B, and you can see like when you actually look at the machine, they're labeled. So I've got my fine point blade here, and it's going to tell me to load the button, so it's talking to you. And I'm going to switch back over. Actually, you guys can still see what's going on here. You'll notice right now I've got this light blinking telling me to load the material. So I'm going to put, and there are guides in the machine where you put the material. And when we click this button, the machine is going to load and register the paper for you. And then the Cricut button should be flashing. I'll put the cord in the way, you guys, sorry. So once this button starts flashing, this means you're ready to cut. So I'm actually now going to stop the screen share just so we can focus on what's happening on the machine. So I'm going to click the go button. And then the magic will happen. So if you are cutting on a larger sheet, you can actually save your excess scrap, which is what I plan to do. So you can see, and I also want to say this can actually cut fairly sophisticated things. We're doing simple shapes today, but we can go fairly detailed and fairly sophisticated for the cardstock or the adhesive vinyl or whatever you're cutting. But just keep in mind is depending on the detail, and it's done, you guys, super quick. Depending on the detail, it will take longer to cut because you've got to run, it's got to run slower to be able to cut everything and to be able to get that detail. So I'm going to eject here, and you guys will notice I have, I'll take a look there, you can see very clear cuts. And the best way to get this off is we have some tools that came with this machine. So a little bit of glare because I've got shiny paper. But I'm going to reach and grab a weeding tool. So when you get the material, whether it's vinyl or cardstock or whatever, when you get the actual design off of the mat and you weed out the excess space around it, that's a term called weeding. And that a lot of folks that do like large vinyl signage, this is a process that they work with when they do vinyl. So if we lift this up, if we've got a good cut, and again, as the blade gets duller, you might not have a solid cut, so be careful when you're ripping that stuff off. So now I've got my star, my diamond, and then I've got the negative space. So maybe if I'm making something and I want to put a piece of paper behind the star, I've got the shiny star, and then I've got like a nice like blue piece of paper under the star. You know, you can layer these pieces as well. I'm actually going to set this aside and use this later because I can still cut on the surface area of this that's left. And then here I've got this little spatula looking tool. This does have a little bit of tack to it, this mat. So I'm just going to very carefully go under this and boom, lovely little custom die cut shiny shape there. Okay, sorry, the camera's going in and out of focus, sorry guys. And then I also have my star. So that is working with the Cricut Maker. As long as you have the right tools and you've plugged in the right settings, it is fairly plug and play. So that is it.